How's it going, David from Comic Book Investments? So eBay is getting rid of its fees. Yes, hallelujah. The good Lord has spoken, and eBay is getting rid of all of its fees. Ah, yes. Well, that is not true at all. But that is what the article will tell you is happening right now. So first, a bunch of caveats. As we know, that eBay is like 15% when you type in, the payment processing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, eBay's roughly around 15%. And not to mention, they have all these additional fees. Oh, you want it overseas? Oh, that's an extra $2. Oh, you want it bold? Oh, that's like an extra $4. Oh, you want a little subtitle? You want this? You want that? You want more pictures? All this kind of stuff. Fee. All these little fees, which is so weird. All these stupid upcharges. Just, I don't know. Anyways, so here's eBay. Here's this article. eBay online retailer is scrapping its seller fees. Okay, but this is in the UK. But still, if you're in the UK, hey, that's pretty good, right? Maybe eventually they'll come over to the US. All this kind of, oh, yes, no fees. Get rid of that 15%, make all that money. Yes, well, so why is eBay doing this? So they have two competitors, Depop and Vinted. Okay, so those are companies that exist only in the UK. Over there, I mean, I guess you could order it here and have it shipped, but mostly pop over there. And so they're trying to compete with them. So now they have tried in the past to get rid of their seller fees on clothing, and they touted, oh, by the way, it keeps it out of the landfill, all this stuff out of the landfill. And it's like, you're not doing this because you're a good person, eBay. No, you're doing this because you want more money. That's why you're doing it. And now, why are they doing it? Well, Vinted and Depop, they used to have like 8 or 10% seller fees, and then they got rid of their seller fees. And so now eBay has to compete. Now you're thinking like, this doesn't make any sense. How could they possibly make money? Well, maybe they have their payment processing fee, which is like at least here it's 2.35% plus like 30% per transaction. So maybe they're just making their money there. But why would a big giant company like eBay decide to forego whatever their fees over there? I don't know. But here, 10 to 12% plus they have that payment processing fee. Why would they forego that? Just out of the good graces of their heart? Just because they're trying to crush this competitor that's up and coming? Now, that doesn't make any sense. They have a board they have to answer to, which means they have to make more money than they did before. So what is really going on here? Well, if you scroll through here, what are they actually getting rid of? They're getting rid of the seller fees, but they're putting in a buyer's premium. They call it something different, a buyer's protection fee. But it's a buyer's premium. It's literally the same thing. They're just moving it from the seller to the buyer. Now, what happened is this other company did it, and they found that their sales increased. Because they found that more sellers were listing more stuff. So they had a huge surge in listings. Well, when you have a huge surge in listings, more people will come and like, oh, there's more stuff that I want. Okay. And then they start buying. It was a promotional period they did. eBay did the same thing. They tried it out just in clothing, and now they did it across everything in the UK, minus like cars and motor type stuff. But every other category, no seller fees. But they have buyer's premium. So if you're going to, it's the exact same thing, except you're putting it on the buyer, but which in the end puts it on the seller anyways. Because here's the thing. Let's say you have a comic book that's worth $1,000. Well, let's say you have a 10% buyer's premium. If you go to buy that comic book for $1,000, all of a sudden at the end of it, you're paying, an extra $100. So you're paying $1,100 because it's a 10% buyer's premium. That's what or I forget what they call it. They call buyer's protection fee. 10% buyer's premium. So now that $1,000 comic book, you're actually buying for $1,100. And then you have taxes and all that other kind of stuff. Well, Heritage does the same thing. A lot of other comic sites do the same thing. They have a buyer's premium. So what most people do, when they go to buy, even myself included, I go, okay, I want to spend $1,000 on this. Okay, so what do I have to type in to bid $1,000? Well, it's like 900 and some change. So basically $900 at 10% would put you $990, so it's a little bit more. But at $900, I'll bid $900. Then with that 10% buyer's premium I have to pay, now I'm paying $1,000 for that $1,000 comic book. So what does the seller end up getting? The seller doesn't get $1,000. They get that $900. Now, I wonder how the math works out. If it's like a 10%, if you're the seller and there's a 10% markup, you're basically getting like $910, as opposed to if you got $1,000 and then you got 10% taken out of the gut, you get $900. So maybe you make a little bit more money, but it really depends on overall, like exactly what their fees are. But still, that's what they're touting as, that they're getting. They're just moving on. And I've noticed a lot of comic book companies, other websites doing like buyer's premium and seller's fees. So they're doing double dipping. And Heritage will try to like, oh, we have low seller fees. We're only like 10 or 15%. It's like, yeah, but then you also have a 20% buyer's premium. So really like 30, 35%. Comic Connect is another one that has buyer's premium. Pretty much all auction houses have buyer's premium. The only one I don't know so far that doesn't have a buyer's premium is Comic Link, but they do have like a 3% kind of fee that you have to pay. I think you can avoid it if you pay by a check, but I have to look more into that. I think it's just a standard buyer's premium fee. We don't have any buyer's premium fee, and we're only 5% seller's fee. So really, you get 95% of the book's value. No buyer's premium on our website, collectorscomics.com. But yeah, a lot of some people, I know Golden has a 20% buyer's premium. I don't know if they have a seller's fee. I'm pretty sure they do, but they might just have the buyer's premium. So they touted to the seller, there's no fees for you. The buyer pays the fees. And you're like, oh, that's great. But like I said, if there's something that's worth $1,000, and it's 10% buyer's premium, you're only bidding $900. So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the auction houses, they're getting the money. So this whole eBay thing is they're just moving it from one person to the next. It doesn't mean there's no fees. Even if they did that here, they would just move it to the buyer, and then the buyer pay, and the buyer pay less. The only difference is maybe in the beginning when they first roll it out, buyers aren't aware, and then they go to check out and they're like, wait, why am I paying an extra 10%? Okay, whatever, and they deal with it. And then as time goes on, years or something like that, they get used to it, and then they don't really do that anymore. They show that it made a spike, I guess, or their sales went up. We'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. I don't know. There could be. I mean, it's good for the sellers, right? Because they're thinking, oh, we don't have anything. But then the buyers could get upset, and they're like, I went to buy this thing for $49.99, and now all of a sudden I have to pay an extra 10%. Like that kind of. It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and they automatically like surcharge you the tip in there. I don't know if you've ever been to a restaurant where it's like, there's a 16% gratuity automatically added to your bill. And it's like, yeah, I would have tipped that anyways, but now I feel like I'm being robbed. It just feels weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But if you go to a restaurant and they already include the gratuity, and then they also have a separate line for gratuity, and I'm like, wait, you already included it right there. You're wanting me to add more on top of that? This feels weird. This is only in America. If you're in the UK, doesn't apply. You guys don't have a tipping system. The tipping system here, trust me, has gotten out of control. I will literally go somewhere where they just like hand me something, and then they want like a tip, and the tip starts at like 20 or 25%, and I'm like, that's the bare minimum. That's the minimum I can go from like 20 to 30. That's super annoying. But yeah, so let me know what you think about that. This whole eBay getting rid of the seller fees and moving on to the buyers. It's really just a shell game. In the end of the day, it's the same amount. eBay will get the same amount. As a buyer, I think we're conditioned to not having to pay these fees. But more people are moving towards that way where they're going to do both. And I honestly think, now that I think about it, I think this is the real plan. I think eBay is going to condition the buyers, because at first the sellers won't even care, right? They're like, oh, awesome, right? I'll still list stuff. It doesn't cost me any fees. And so the sellers will still list stuff. But then the buyers, they condition the buyers to get them used to paying the buyer's premium. And then they keep the buyer's premium and then add back a seller's fee, but only like 3 to 5%. And so now the seller's like, oh, well, I used to be paying like 10 or 15%. Now I'm only paying 3 to 5% in seller fees. Plus now you're paying the buyer's premium. You're not paying for it. So I think that's what their game plan is, because eBay is always trying to raise fees. So never in your mind think that eBay is trying to do one good for the customer. They are not. So this is probably a long master plan of where they are going to test it out, and then eventually they're going to get back the seller fees and keep the buyer's premium. That's how most places are doing it anyways. Comic Connect is doing that now. They have the seller fee. People are used to paying a buyer's premium at other auction houses, so they just add the buyer's the buyer's fee as well. So now they have a seller's and a buyer's fee. So they double dip. This means you make less on your items overall. But at Collectors Comics, only 5%. Well, that's 5%. And we also have a cap. So anything over $10,000 is capped. We don't charge any more. After the first $10,000, or after that, anything $10,001, after that $1 and so on, no more fees. You don't get pay a single cent on any fees above $10,000. Just the first 10,000. That's it, and it's only 5%. We're also accepting consignments. CollectorsComics.com right now for our new featured auction that's coming in a month or so. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you think I'm right about how I'm pretty sure that eBay is just gonna end up bringing the seller fees back and keeping the buyer's premium. Have a great day.